30 was a huge wake-up call for me because the life you said you'd be living, the things you said you'd be doing, you realize that the clock is ticking and that life has already been happening. I mean, you're not old and gray, but you are busy. You do have more responsibilities. And I feel like it's in this chapter that you really get to know your body. Maybe you come off of birth control and you're experiencing your first natural cycle. I mean, maybe you're wanting to start a family, and so now you're concerned about things like hormones and fertility. Maybe because of all of these things, the routines that used to work are no longer working. Welcome back to this series where we rebrand your routine by working smarter, not harder. Over the course of this 4-part series, we have been deep diving into the science and experience-backed tips to transform your workouts, nutrition, and mindset. If you've missed the previous episodes, I will link them down below. But today we're talking all things hormones and how this may be the missing link on your fitness journey. So we are going to cover what it means to balance your hormones, how workouts and nutrition are going to affect this balance, the cortisol connection. Then we're going to wrap up talking a bit about the menstrual cycle and the different cycles that you experience and how these relate to your fitness. On the note of transformation, a huge thank you to Armra for sponsoring today's episode. In case you have not seen the viral videos, Armra's colostrum has been taking the internet by storm. It is quickly becoming the holy grail for whole body health. I was influenced to try this. I was influenced to do the dry scoop, and I hate to admit it, but I love the dry scoop. It might be my favorite part of my morning routine, to the point that I'm now trying to convince all of my friends to do it too, because it has benefits for your dental health and oral microbiome. I started taking Armra because I was curious, but one of my goals for the new year was to work on my hair health and hair growth. Basically, I had a few stressful months toward the end of the year. My hair was thinning out. Things were not looking so great for my scalp, but I'm happy to report that I just got my hair trimmed last week, and my stylist said that I had less shedding when she was washing, and there is a lot of the baby hairs, new hair growth going on, which is great news. Armra has a whole host of science-backed benefits that I'll list on screen, from strengthened immunity to elevated mood, focus, and energy. If you haven't heard of colostrum, it is a dairy-based bioactive food produced by all mammals. It is the first nutrition we receive, and it contains all of the vital nutrients that your body needs to thrive. Armra is a premium bovine colostrum concentrate that is ethically sourced and delivers over 400 bioactive nutrients in the purest, most bioavailable form, including a host of peptides, antibodies, whole food prebiotics, and antioxidants that serve as the blueprint to support your internal systems and cellular regeneration. What makes Armra different is that they uphold calf first sourcing, meaning they only collect overflow colostrum, the surplus that is left after the calves are fully fed. They are also physician founded. So Armra colostrum is physician founded and the only colostrum on the market validated with dual arm third-party clinical trial research. I started taking Armra because I was curious. I have definitely felt the hair health, immunity, and energy benefits. Like I said, this is one of my favorite parts of my morning routine. So if you want to check it out for yourself, I will put a link in the description box down below, as well as a code to save 15% off your first month's order. One of the worst trends I've seen recently is essentially doctors making fun of women who want to balance their hormones. And I get these posts might be directed at the internet experts who claim they can balance your hormones and fix all your problems, but it doesn't come across that way. If you're scrolling your feed just looking for any sort of relief from your symptoms, I'm gonna hope TikTok is not your first resort for medical advice, but I'm gonna guess that most women who are looking for help managing difficult periods, help managing their hormones, that's their last ditch effort, right? You've exhausted medical options, you've been gaslit, you have not received helpful advice or information, and so this is what you're left with. There's a running joke that as a woman, if you go to the doctor with pretty much any symptom, whether it's mood swings, bad digestion, weird periods, painful cramping, low libido, acne, you tell the doctor, it goes in one ear, out the other, and out their mouth pops a birth control prescription. So if your experience with the medical system has already been negative, to then see a doctor essentially calling you stupid, that does not instill trust or confidence. And if you feel too stupid to start the conversation, then women are going to be left to deal with these problems in isolation. So what does it mean to balance your hormones? I mean, first question is, what hormones are we talking about? Because you have sex hormones, adrenal hormones, thyroid hormones, hormones that affect your blood sugar and metabolic regulation. I think that's what these posts are really getting at, because balancing your hormones or hormone balancing has become so trendy on social media that I'm not sure anyone 100% knows what it means. For starters, there is no such thing as a hormone balancing workout. You can work out in a way that is conscious of your hormones. But again, my question would be, which hormones are you looking to support? A theme that I will keep coming back to is working smarter, not harder. This belief is central to the success I've had on my own fitness journey. It is at the core of how we train in the Anda app with our 3 full body workouts per week. But I know a lot of you can relate to my story of going from weightlifting 5, 6, sometimes 7 days a week. I was deep in gym culture where more is better, but that caught up with me because I gained some weight, and when I tried to lose it, I had nothing left to give. I would lose a few pounds just to gain them right back. From a hormonal standpoint, what can happen in situations like these is because you're chronically stressed, your body is working overtime to produce cortisol. There's a term you may hear online of adrenal fatigue or adrenal burnout, which is the idea that because your adrenal glands have been producing this overproduction of cortisol for so long, they can burn out, they can get tired, and this can impair their function, which, if you remember, your adrenal glands are also responsible for the secretion of DHEA, which is an intermediate that can then turn into things like estrogen or testosterone. And oh my gosh, suddenly this explains all of my issues with mood swings and irregular periods and fertility. It's not actually, whatever you thought it was, it's my adrenal glands, which, while that's a very neat and tidy explanation, from what I can find, this has largely been debunked. It turns out the whole stress regulation system is, of course, a bit more complex. And so a better term for it may be HPA axis dysfunction. Do you need to understand the intricacies of everything that is going on in your body in order to make a change? Probably not. But the big takeaway here, or at least I hope, is that you understand your stress and sex hormones are complexly interconnected. And if you are chronically stressed, it's not a matter of if, but when that is going to catch up with your hormone health. Now, on the flip side, and as a disclaimer, this does not mean that you need to switch entirely to low impact or low intensity workouts. If you feel that that is all you are able to handle in your body, then that would actually be a red flag to me to maybe evaluate the stressors in other areas of life and try to figure out why you're working with that reduced physical capacity. But you can absolutely continue weightlifting, continue running, continue moving your body in a way that feels good for you, as long as you are managing that total stress load. Stressors come in many forms: environmental, emotional, physical. As you get older, life gets more complex, you have more responsibilities, and so beyond not having the time to train like you did in your teens or early 20s, you may also find that your capacity for physical stress is less, not because your life ends once you turn 30, but because you've spent that stress on other things. This is why I will continue harping on the importance of a smarter, not harder routine. If you don't know what I mean, go back and watch episode 2 of this series. Moving over to nutrition and how this affects your hormone balance, zeroing in on calorie deficit and yo-yo dieting. Both of these are physical stressors on your body. With yo-yo dieting, or maybe binging and restricting, even if you're not losing weight, even if on average you're not at a calorie deficit, that inconsistency in energy availability can be perceived as a stress by your body, leading to an increase in cortisol. And that increase in cortisol can result in a cascade of effects on the hormones affecting your appetite and metabolism, actually making it harder to lose weight the longer you spend doing this. We touched on the idea of metabolic adaptation in episode 3. of this series. From a thyroid perspective, cortisol slows the conversion of T4 to T3, the usable form of thyroid hormone, effectively slowing your metabolism. Cortisol impairs insulin secretion, increasing blood sugar, which if you're not using that for physical activity, can lead to decreased insulin sensitivity over time and difficulty managing your blood sugar and hunger. Chronically elevated cortisol has also been linked to an increasing ghrelin, the hunger hormone, meaning that chronic stress can make it more difficult to eat in line with your body's needs. This isn't even getting into how gut health affects all of this. For example, the conversion of T4 to T3, so the usable form of thyroid hormone, takes place between the liver, kidneys, and gut. So if you have a poorly functioning gut, that could further impair the conversion of this hormone into its usable form. While the theory behind this sounds complex, your application doesn't need to be. As we discussed in episode 3 of this series, if you're going to be at a calorie deficit, keep it sensible. Don't make it stressful. Stress can be mental or physical. And so if something like tracking calories drives you crazy, know that there are other strategies, and also eat your fiber. Now, I did promise we would talk about the cyclical nature of your hormones. So there are two main cycles you're up against as a woman: the circadian rhythm, which is a 24-hour cycle that mainly guides changes in your body to support your sleeping and waking hours. And then you have your infradian rhythm, which is closer to a month long. You may refer to this as your menstrual cycle. And the idea is that over the course of both of these cycles, your hormone levels will naturally rise and fall. And what some people will do, you might hear it referred to with the menstrual cycle as cycle syncing workouts and nutrition. With the circadian rhythm, I don't know if people still call that cycle syncing, but maybe like biohacking. The idea is that you can adjust your lifestyle, you can adjust your habits to better align what you're doing with the natural changes that are occurring in your body. I have talked about this with regards to the circadian rhythm in a previous video. I'll link it down below, but you can look it up online. You can do some more reading on it. What I like about a cyclical view toward hormones is that I think it helps put into perspective everything we just discussed. There are no bad hormones. Cortisol is not the big bad wolf. It is not something that should be avoided at all costs. It serves an important role in our bodies, but the rhythms also remind us that these hormones are meant to ebb and flow. They're meant to rise and fall, and where we run into issues is when things become chronically elevated, when they're not ebbing and flowing, when they get stuck somewhere and they will not return to a more natural state. So I'm going to leave it there for now because I don't want to overwhelm you with information, but I am excited to announce that our next series will be all about your menstrual cycle and taking everything that we just learned about workouts, nutrition, mindset, routine, hormones, and applying it to the menstrual cycle. We're doing a series on cycle syncing. I am really excited to be starting this because I will admit I was a huge skeptic of cycle syncing. I was a huge skeptic because there was a lack of research. I also just really, I was being stubborn and I didn't want to change what I was doing throughout the month. But it is so beautiful to learn about our bodies as women, and it's so empowering to have that knowledge. So I'm like, I don't even know why I'm getting emotional. This happens ever since I've had a baby. I'm just really excited for the girls. I'm really excited for the next series. So I hope you guys, this is embarrassing. So I'm really excited for that next series. I do hope you enjoyed this series. I've had so much fun making it. I've had so much fun doing these deep dives, and I can't wait to share what is next for our community.